Okay, now we start. Okay, tell me that you can see this, the slide.
Yes, Doctor.
Yeah. Economies of scale can be internal and external. Internal within the company, external because of the industry, not because of your company, not within, but outside of your company, but within the industry. So-called industry. If you're a company of computer industry, computer company, the whole computer industry in your area, in your state, or in your country. So with this no, without until here. So tonight we're gonna continue with this. Internal economies of scale provide additional cost incentives for specialization in production. With the economies of scale, average cost will be reduced or will reduce the average cost. The cost reduction becomes an additional cost incentive to specialize. Key aspect of increasing returns trade theory is the home market effect. Countries will specialize in products that have a large domestic market. For example, country A has a large domestic market for car. Malaysia and Thailand, for example, take. I'm just making a story, okay? Both have the same comparative advantage, about the same. So no difference in comparative advantage. So this ceteris paribus, when we discuss all this from number 4 yes, when we discuss number 4, number 5, number 6, number 7, technology as a source of competitive advantage, number 8, industrial policy. So from 4 to 8, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 5 topics or subtopics, we do ceteris paribus. We assume no difference in comparative advantage between two countries that in our model, no difference in comparative advantage based on factor endowment. To make it easy for you to understand, we assume factor endowment in country A and country B are the same. Okay, when factor endowment in both countries are the same, they have the same comparative advantage based on Hexaolin. Remember, comparative Hexaolin is about factor endowment. So we assume country A and country B both have the same type of factor endowment. So no difference in comparative advantage. But we're gonna learn comparative advantage, the reason for trade, or the difference that makes it the two countries want to trade can come through other situation other than factor endowment. Number one, economies of scale. Again, assume no factor endowment difference. Number 2, overlapping demand. Number 3, intra-industry trade. Number 4, technology. Number 8, industrial policy. Okay, so 4 to 8. We're going to study 5 subtopics tonight, inshallah. All we assume no difference in factor endowment. As a result, no difference in comparative advantage based on factor endowment. But the reason for trade will come from the 5 things that we're going to study, each one by one. Okay. Home market effect. Countries will specialize in products that have a large domestic demand. Just now, I'll give example of Malaysia and Thailand. Suppose the demand for cars bigger in Malaysia, so Malaysia should specialize in cars. But the demand for shoes are bigger in Thailand, so Thailand should specialize in shoes. Although both countries, I make a story, okay, have the same comparative advantage based on factor endowment, because they have the same factor endowment. Now, because of this increasing return, internal economies of scale, home market effect. So by locating near to its largest market, an industry can minimize shipping costs while still taking advantage of economies of scale. Automobile firms locate in Germany rather than in France because the larger demand in Germany for automobile, so locate there. So this figure 3.4, initially no basis, no reason for trade, because United States and Mexico have the same comparative advantage based on factor endowment. They don't have the difference. So this is a story, okay, a model only, which is not true. So suppose no basis for trade, as each United States and Mexico produces autos at 10,000 per unit. The cost. So they have the same cost structure, 10,000 per unit. This is point A. This average cost of Mexico and also average cost of the United States. The same line. Overlapping. Overlapping means no difference in comparative advantage between the two countries. Only a model, which is not true, okay? No difference. Same line. Average cost for Mexico, which is also average cost for the United States. So they both produce at point A, $10,000 per unit, the cost of a car. How many? 100,000 units produced. That's the starting point. However, if we assume rising income in the United States results in increased demand for automobile to 200,000, while that does not happen in Mexico. So we assume increase in income in the United States leading to increased demand to 200,000 in the United States. Increase in demand for automobile So now the US, still operating on the same line of average cost, will produce at point B. As a result, more output, economies of scale are achieved. With more output, reduce average cost, more output produced. So resulting in the decrease from $10,000 to $8,000 per unit, the cost or the price. So data set firms can produce more autos and take advantage of the economies of scale. Firms' cost curve slides down to 8,000, lower than Mexico's 10,000. As a result, United States specialize in automobile and export automobile to Mexico. So by adding the size of the domestic market, international trade permits longer production runs by domestic firms, which can lead to greater efficiency and reduction in unit cost. So United States produce 100,000 at a lower cost than Mexico's 10,000, and United States export automobile to Mexico. That's how economies of scale, internal economies of scale, becomes a basis or reason for trade. Why reason? Everything has a reason. You do something, that is a reason. We are alive, being created, that's a reason also. Everything happens with reason. Also trade. Here, internal economies of scale become a reason for trade between two countries, even though there is no difference in comparative advantage based on factor endowment. No difference. See, no difference, same line. But trade will happen because of other things. What? Internal economies of scale. Got it? Now, external economies of scale exist outside a firm and within the industry. When firms' average cost decreases as industry's output increases. Cost reduction could be caused by decrease in resource prices or amount of resources per output. This is internal. By adding more, you reduce the cost. This is external. This is I add from another book, not from this book. So, but you're not going to be responsible for this graph, because the other set will not have this graph. To show you. Okay, quickly we go. The other group set that does not have this. Mutually beneficial trade, but I put it just for you to make sense of it. This is the study. Economies of scale. So one country specializes in X, the other one specializes in Y. So, as a result, they achieve more economies of scale, higher economies of scale, increase. So they They can trade this trading line. As a result, the shift in the consumption. Look at new consumption here. Okay, you're not going to be responsible in the exam for this graph and this graph. I put it there, I put it there, just for you to make sense of it. Why not responsible? The other set do not have this graph that I took from another book. External economics of scale, concentration of industries firms in geography area attracts large pool of, okay, now how does external economies of scale happen? How can it happen? Before this, we talk about internal. That's easy to understand. That you specialize in what you market, home market, sector. Specialize and you get bigger output. You reduce cost. That's internal. This is external. How does it happen? One way is, you see, there is a clustering of the same type of businesses within the same industry. Like automobile will be in Shah Alam because Proton there, clustering. Electronics will be in Penang. They cluster together at one place. See, this is what we call the concentration or clustering. Concentration of industries firms in a geographic area. This will attract large pool of specialized workers, engineers. If it's electrical, all the electrical engineers will be going there. Attract large pool of specialized workers. So new knowledge will be created. New knowledge of production technology spread among firms in the area. So if you have a company has to do with car, it's better to be in Shah Alam because there's going to be some kind of technology transfer which happens whether formally or informally. Formally through agreements, informally through being there. Your work is having lunch and talk during the lunch with worker from another company. So that's how the knowledge, the know-how spreads informally. This Google headquarters, they have a round building like that, and they encourage their people, workers, to be having lunch there while around for more interactions. And I assume they don't want their people to be going outside and mix with other people, maybe, I don't know, spread of secrets by just talking. You slip your tongue. I don't know. I'm not sure whether they want to stop that. But the concept of a concentration, that's I want to emphasize here. So not only that, you're being in the same place, in terms of infrastructure will be cheaper. You don't have to do infrastructure by yourself because certain industries will need to have certain type of infrastructure. So you'll be sharing the same type of infrastructure, whether, of course, the government provide that infrastructure that's suitable for you, and as a result, you reduce your cost. So expanding industry is a source of growth and tax revenue. So component suppliers cluster together, close and near to manufacturing center, increasing access to specialized inputs. That's how external economies of scale can happen. from within the industry, not from your own company. Now, next, number 2, we have 5. Number 2 now, overlapping demand. So, factor endowment theory explains trade in primary products and agriculture goods. Does not explain trade in manufactured goods. Since main force influencing manufactured goods, trade is domestic demand condition. Firms within country manufacture goods for which there is large domestic market. Consumer demand conditioned strongly by income level. Countries' per capita income yields particular demand pattern. Nations with high per capita income, rich nations will demand luxuries. Nations with low per capita income will demand necessities only. Necessities. So this is overlapping demand. This is income, product quality. So we plot that. This is the poorest person in that country. This is the richest person in that country. So the poorest person can afford only the lowest quality product here. So as you go richer and richer, you can afford to buy the top quality product in this country. So take another country, country B. This is country B. The poorest person in country B can afford the lowest quality offered. The richest in this country can afford the highest quality. Because the highest quality, the higher the quality, the higher the price. So now we put together the graph of two countries, overlap between the two. So country A, country B. So this is the overlap, the income overlap between the two countries. From the income overlap, this is the trade. The type of products will be traded between the two countries. So similarity in taste as a basis for trade between two countries. Similarity in taste, that's got to do with what? Income. They have this, the overlap. So overlapping demand hypothesis. This is the trade. Product QB minimum and QA maximum. Also, the other set does not have this graph. So you're not responsible for this graph in the exam. I put here for you to understand easily. Oh, intra-industry trade. Okay. Now, finish number 2. Number 3, intra industry trade. Exchange between nations of products of different industries. Yeah. First inter is different industries. Here we're going to discuss intra. However, the note here begins with inter, just to make a difference between inter and intra. Intra is next slide. Inter is between different industries. Based on inter-industry specialization, each nation specializes in industry in which it enjoys comparative advantage. That's inter. Now, intra-industry trade, number 3, okay? This is item number 3. Also, a reason for trade, assuming no difference in comparative advantage based on factor endowment. In other words, factor endowments in the country are the same, so no difference. So now another thing become a source or a factor or a reason for trade. What is it? Number 3, intra-industry trade. Next slide. Advanced industrial nations emphasize intra-industry trade. So intra-industry trade is especially so for developed or rich countries or industrial countries. So two-way trade in a similar commodity, similar product in the same industry. So intra-industry trade. Existence of intra-industry trade is incompatible with models of comparative advantage. But this happens because no comparative advantage difference. However, trade still happen because of intra-industry trade. This I add from another book. The other, you're not going to be responsible for this on your exam because the other set does not have this graph. Location can cause intra-industry trade in homogeneous goods. For example, here we take, suppose this is Thailand and B is Malaysia. So Malaysia produces cement, cement to make concrete. So even though this is different country across the country, supposedly, normally trade would be between this point and this point within the country. But location of homogeneous product, trade does not happen between this point FB and CB. Instead, across the country, which is international trade. Trade does not happen. Buying and selling does not happen between this FB and CB. As a result, international trade happens because of homogeneous goods due to location. So Malaysia will be exporting cement to Thailand. Thailand will be exporting materials to make cement. I think the other way is correct because Malaysia has a lot of this, this hill. Okay, whichever way. So let's go back to what I said. Malaysia will be importing uh, but there's no direction here, but doesn't matter. The trade, Malaysia will export cement to Thailand. And suppose here also cement. Thailand here, this point will export cement to Malaysia on the other side. I'm just making an example, not true. Maybe this is Kelantan. This is a Perlis or Kedah. You know, a company or companies in Kedah or Perlis will export cement to Thailand. But here, a company in southern Thailand will export cement to Malaysia in Kelantan, to Kelantan in Malaysia. So there's trade in homogeneous goods. The location can become a source of international trade. Assume, again, ceteris paribus, no difference in the comparative advantage between Thailand and Malaysia based on factor endowment. No difference. So trade will happen because of homogeneous products and the location. The location and homogeneous product. This intra-industry trade. So you must know, even though I give you example of Malaysia and Thailand, the reality is that empirical studies have shown that intra-industry trade occurs mainly among industrial countries, mainly among developed countries, mainly among rich countries. When I say industrial, rich, developed, I'm talking about the same type of countries, mainly among industrial countries. Intra-industry trade. I just gave you example of Malaysia and Thailand for the sake of story only, which is not true. So intra-industry trade, finish. So economies of scale, developing demand, number 2. Number 3, intra-industry trade. Now number 4, technology. We have 5, okay? This is number 4. As a source of comparative advantage. So here we're referring to the product life cycle theory. Vernon. His name is Vernon, V-E-R-N-O-N. Long time ago. I think in the late 50s that he wrote. So technological innovations. Nations differ in rates of innovation. This will result in new methods of producing existing commodities, production of new commodities, commodity improvements, and often transitory. Manufactured goods undergo predictable trade patterns, or trade cycle, or patterns. So number 1, manufactured goods introduced to home market. Number 2, next step, domestic industry shows export strength. Next, foreign production. This is step by step. Okay, production begins overseas. Number 4, domestic industry loses competitive advantage. Number 5, import competition begins. A good story about this product life cycle theory This is, you can put into your mind, a product which was introduced by a developed or industrial or rich country long time ago. That product now the same industrial rich developed country import that product. For example, TV. TV was introduced in Europe and United States. Because why? They had the technology and capital to make a TV. Malaysia, Korea, anywhere in this developing world did not have the knowledge even to make a TV at that time. So now TVs are being imported to America, to Europe. Again, a product which used to be introduced, or a product which was introduced by an industrial country long time ago, that industrial country is now importing that product that they previously introduced to the world. TV is a good example. So I put this in my graph. This nice drawing that I did on whiteboard. So this is product life cycle. It doesn't matter 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, doesn't matter. It depends on how much detail you want to be and your emphasis. So here, you're also not responsible. But yes, not going to be responsible for the exam because I put it here. So where is it? Make it bigger. I want to make it bigger. I don't see the button here. Okay. Oh. Oh. See, product life cycle introduction. So this is being introduced. This is time. This is sales. Very little sales during introduction, and you get to the second stage. Again, let me repeat. Doesn't matter. 3, 4, at least 3. At least 3. Can be 4 stages. Can be 5, depending on how detailed you want. Growth. Look at the growth stage or phase. Phase. 4 phases. Growth phase, increase in sale, and maturity. Mature. The product become mature. When the product become matured, everyone now knows the technology. What was, exclusively this country had that technology during introduction. Now when the product is matured, like TV, the technology is matured, except all this LCD, all this advanced TV, that's different. Normal TV, everyone knows, every country knows the technology has matured already. And finally decline. These are the 4 stages. And product introduced in the United States. This is nice. I draw this, my own drawing, because not only product life cycle talks about the 4 stages, 4 or 5, doesn't matter, but it's got to do also, will explain the location of production and FDI, foreign direct investment. It's my graph. Not only that, FDI, export and import. Anything here that I should go first? Yeah. Oh, see, Vernon, 1966. I said just now, late 50s. This is 1936. Because it's got his writing, late 50s, yes. I Google Vernon. Oh, the Vernon, sorry. No. We don't have time. So this is a United States production. This is consumption. The gap is export. And finally, this is what I said. A TV was introduced in United States. United States used to export. Now, United States imports TV. The product that only United States had the technology and capital during those times to produce a TV. Now, United States imports that same product, TV. Of course, better TV today. Other advanced countries, consumption, so import, production increase, so export. Less developed countries, imports, and finally export. This is new product, just introduced. And product becomes matured. The technology has matured, meaning that there's no secret anymore. Most countries know the technology. Maybe what is stopping is capital only. So maturing. Yes, I better stick to this one. Standardized product. So when the product becomes standardized, that maturity, that technology has become public knowledge. So I should emphasize here rather than maturing. So mature, yes, depending on how you want to explain. I wasn't wrong. I was correct too. The product has matured in terms of, the demand is great. Mass can be mass produced. And finally, technology is becoming, technology spreads. And here, when the product becomes standardized, technology is no longer secret. All countries, almost all countries, know the technology, know how to produce TV. So here, international product life cycle theory. I'm giving so many just to make sure you understand. US export. Foreign production began. Foreign competition in export market. And finally, import competition in US market. Here, domestic sales. United States no longer has comparative advantage in that production of that product. So Here, I'll explain better with my graph, my own drawing. So, product life cycle and the location of production. Product life cycle and location of production, and relationship with foreign direct investment, with FDI. So natijah, the result is that, the conclusion is that, this is the conclusion, having to do with, there is a relation with FDI. So stage number 1 or phase number 1, this is output. We plot the time and output, export, and net import. Output, export, and net import. And time. Phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, phase 4. When the product was introduced, so the location of production was domestic. The market was only domestic when the product was first introduced. This is phase 1. Production, domestic. Market, domestic. And now, when the product becomes matured, well, this is the growth. This is the growth phase. Growth. The production is still domestic. The market now, export has been or has added to that. So production is domestic. The market now are both domestic and overseas, which is export. During the second phase, when the product, the growth phase, the markets are both domestic, and adding to that is overseas market, export, began to export. So began to export. Phase 3, the cost of production began to increase in the country. So now makes sense to go overseas to produce through FDI. So start FDI, foreign direct investment, because domestic cost has increased. So location of production now, domestic decreases, the arrow going down. Overseas through FDI increase. Reduction of domestic production, or production domestic, but more and more production happen or take place overseas. Reduction domestic, increase of production overseas through FDI. Now the market, domestic plus in the host country that we are going overseas to invest, the FDI. So we call it host country, the market there. For example, if Malaysia go to Indonesia doing FDI, Indonesia is the host country. Understand? And also outside of the host country, third country, third party, third country. Now in stage number 4, the country that introduced this product has lost comparative advantage, has lost the competitiveness, So it's better to import. Has lost competitiveness. The cost has got higher and higher. So no longer competitive. Understand? No longer competitive. So FDI only. So the location of production no more in the domestic, in their own country. No more in own country. All of them, the production is overseas. FDI completely. And the market, host country, and outside of host country, third country, and third, fourth, whatever country, outside of host country, and also the domestic, going back to the country, importing. See, imports. And finally, phase number 4, completely. The country that introduced TV now imports TV. The original producer country now becomes the importer. So now imports. So whether FDI or no FDI, now firms from developing countries with FDI or no FDI, plus production by firms from developing countries, Malaysian firms, now produce TV. And the market now global. So what I was saying, TV was introduced by United States. Now TV, United States imports from Malaysia. In other way, I want to say this. Product life cycle explain the life cycle of a product. Not only that, the location of production and connection with foreign direct investment in such a way that a country that was the original producer of a product, that country A, the original producer of a product, now that country A becomes the importer of that product that they used to introduce to the world. See? So radios, pocket calculators, and the International Product Cycle, pocket calculators product life cycle model, invented in 1961. In the US in 1961, 1,000 by 1970. Competing pocket calculators from several US and Japanese firms, 400 only reduced. Competition cheaper from Japanese firms, 400 instead of 1,000. More firms entered the market. Some assembled products in foreign countries with lower cost. Still more firms entered. Improved technology. By mid-70s, pocket calculators sold for $10 to $20, sometimes less. Japan phase in electronics. Essence of product life cycle model seen in experience of Japanese electronics industry. In late 1980s, Japan prepared to dominate world electronic market. Industry weakened during 2000 and 2010. During 2008, you remember, the global economic crisis. 2008, within that period. Exports declined, and you must remember also the lost decade of Japan, which that happened in 1990s. Lost decade. We thought it was only for 1990s, but until today, it's a lost decades of Japan. Only 0.1, 0.2, 0.1, 0.2, very sluggish growth in Japan. Latest is that this has got to do with declining of the working population in Japan. 29% of population in Japan today, 29% are 65 and above years old. Nearly 30% of people in Japan population are above 65 years old and above. Many that aged society. Executives blame value of yen. Another one you must remember, 1985 Plaza Accord. Plaza Accord, 1985. We're gonna learn in next the meeting of G5 at that time in New York City at Plaza Hotel. That's how it got the name. United States had the trade deficit and fiscal deficit. Blame Japan for the trade deficit. Because of you, Japan, your yen is too low. You must increase your yen. So as a result of Plaza Accord, there was a increase in the value of yen. Well, sources of comparative advantage change with time. Competitiveness is not just about what products to offer, but which not to offer as well. Give me 10 more minutes. I'm gonna finish the whole thing here. Okay. Now number 4. Economic soft skill number 1. Overlapping demand number 2. Intra-industry number 3. Number 4. Technology. Now number 5. Okay, number 5 finally. Okay, 5 to cover. Industrial policy as a source, as a reason for trade. Dynamic comparative advantage in particular industry can be created through mobilization of skilled labor, technology, and capital. That's why there's a industrial policy. Bear in mind, I want to say this to you. Industrial policy the word has been shunned away from America by United States. They don't like to say planning, industrial planning, no, because it concocts, or what I call this, becomes similar like the socialist centrally planned economy like the Soviet Union. So after the end of World War II, emerged 2 superpowers. I'm explaining to you now, not in the book. Okay, the word industrial policy, the American government do not like the word industrial policy, because when you say industrial policy, industrial planning, sounding loud, you following Soviet Union. After the end of the World War II, emerged 2 superpowers, United States and Soviet Union, which is centrally planned economy and socialist economy. So just mentioning to you the word industrial policy. Americans do not like it, the word. Okay, you're not responsible for the index, for your knowledge only. So the government actively involved in creating comparative advantage, strategy to revitalize, improve, and develop an industry, antitrust immunity. This is competition. Antitrust is a anti-competition regulations in the United States, because this slide prepared for the United States. They call it antitrust. In Malaysia, anti-competition. In Korea also anti-competition law. No, not anti-competition. I missed it. Anti-colluding, colluding. So we want competition. So antitrust is the law that's regulating firms from colluding among each other so as to create competition. Oh yes, anti-competition law. That's the word, which is to promote competition. Anti-competition regulations. Yes, I was correct. How tired I am at 10 p.m. Anti-competition regulations, which is to promote competition. So they are immune to that antitrust law. In the United States, it is called antitrust law, which is to promote competition. They are immune to that. And not only that, they got tax incentives and also subsidies, again, according to our principle of free trade. No subsidies, no tax incentives. That goes away from free competition and free trade. So they got all these tax incentive, R&D, subsidies, loan guarantees, low interest rate loans, and trade protection, which is against our principle of free trade. So this is industrial policy. Requires government to pick the winner, pick, P-I-C-K, pick, to choose the winner. So to encourage resources to move into industries with highest growth prospect. What if they chose the wrong so-called winner to be helped? So WTO rules that it is illegal for government subsidies to support Boeing and Airbus. So United States complains that Airbus receives unfair subsidies, loans at below market rates, repayment delayed, repayment cancelled. Airbus says their subsidies prevent US from holding worldwide monopoly in jetliners. Airbus says Boeing benefits from indirect government subsidies. Airbus is Europe, Boeing United States. Government organizations support aeronautics research shared by Boeing, also military-sponsored research and procurement by the government for military research. Boeing subcontracts parts of production to Japan and China, whose produces government subsidies. So in 1992, Europe and US agreed to curb subsidies. 33% cap on government subsidies for product development, indirect subsidies limited to 4%. So this is an example. 2005, Boeing and Airbus filed suits at WTO. 2010-11, WTO ruled that both received illegal subsidies. Boeing state would comply and reject illegal aid. Airbus resisted abandoning it from European governments. 2017, WTO declares that neither government has removed illegal subsidies. So looks like that we're going to have to stop here. This is last. How fast can I go? I think I better stop at this slide because I touched already the government regulations. Now, government regulations also affect comparative advantage. Workplace safety, product safety, clean environment, workplace safety, all this. You must have this, that will increase cost for a company. Product safety, clean environment. By law, companies that must install equipment to reduce smoke from coming out. That's going to cost the company. So when cost is high, competitiveness will go down. May improve well-being of the public, can result in higher costs for domestic firms. Yeah, that's what I said. Figure 3.6, trade effects of environmental regulations. Can you absorb this? Because it's already 10, 15. What do you say? We finish this one or not? Any suggestion? So this is figure 3.6, trade effects of government regulation. South Korea and United States. Leads to higher cost. Government regulations leads to higher cost and a decrease in market supply. Assume a world of two steel producers, South Korea and United States. During autarky, South Korea produces 5 steel at 400, while United States produce with South Korea having comparative advantage. This is during autarky. Who has comparative advantage? South Korea. 400 only. 5 steel during autarky. 400 the cost or the price. Whereas in the United States, even though higher 12 unit, but the cost is higher, 600. Who has comparative advantage? South Korea. Do you understand now? Comparative advantage with a country that can produce at lower cost. 400. South Korea has it. United States, 600. So South Korea has comparative advantage in steel production. That's during autarky. With free trade, now South Korea, greater specialization in steel. United States produces less steel. So because we know Korea has comparative advantage in steel, so South Korea should specialize in steel. So under increasing cost, South Korea's cost and prices rise while United States fall. Basis for trade eliminated when price becomes 500. Under increasing cost, the cost and prices of South Korea still increase, while that of United States falls. Increase. While that United States falls to 500, becomes equalized. This is under free trade. Now you see products prices equalize under free trade, equalize at 500. basis for trade will be eliminated finally at 500 price. The same price, no more trading. The reason for trading eliminated. Now we see no trade, but government regulation change the situation. With government regulation, the United States supply shift to the left because more regulation cost, providing additional cost advantage for Korea. Supply shift to the left for the United States because of regulation. So imposition of government regulations such as clean environment, you must put all this machine, you must put all this equipment to make sure no smoke, little smoke coming out, no noise, everything that cost the company. Workplace safety, product safety, and so on. You must always send to testing. That involves cost to the company. On US steel companies leads to higher cost and a decrease in market supply. Shift in the supply curve in the United States. So, this imposition detracts from the competitiveness of US steel companies and reduces their share of the US steel market. Shift to the left. As Korean firms expand production to 9, higher production cost leads to higher price to 600. And Koreans demand only 1 ton, excess supply 8 tons exported. Expand the production to 9, higher price at 600, demand only 1, so it exported. Expand production to 9 because of specialization and then cost incentive cheaper than that's it. So expand the production to 9 at 600 and consume only 1 the demand. This is the supply here at point E, 9, but only consume demand. This is demand, this is supply, E, so you make this line. You're crossing here. So this is demand, new demand, only 1. So produce 9, but consume only 1, so 8 is exported to United States. For the United States, 12 tons demanded at 600 as determined by Korea.